Emmerdale spoilers for next week. From July 28th to August 1st tease that loyalties will be fractured and dark plots will reveal a web of deceit and despair that surrounds the Sugden, Dingle and Tate clans. Beneath the peaceful facade of the Dales, half-brothers John and Robert Sugden secretly battle it out. Moira Barton Dingle faces the consequences of her righteous rage. Mackenzie Boyd grapples with feelings of abandonment even as Charity Tate continues her surrogacy scheme. Dylan's return is clouded by new threats, and budding romances face severe challenges at Wishingwell Cottage. A thin dawn mist clings to the fields surrounding Home Farm, as John Sugden slips inside, with the surety of a man accustomed to unseen advantages. In his palm, a palm-sized listening device, its tiny microphone and transmitter designed to capture every private word uttered in the rummage of his half-brother's reasoning. John's motives are shrouded in the courtesy he shows on the surface. Friendly smiles, offers of help, praise for Robert's stewardship of the inheritance he once shared in full. But those gracious gestures mask his determination to stay one step ahead. He plants the bug inside the snug living room of the keeper's cottage, nestling it behind an ornamental clock, where he can perch, hidden among the shadows, and overhear Robert's most candid fears. Robert wakes that morning gnawed by suspicion. His unease has grown steadily since John's unexpected intervention in the village drama, the daring rescue of Jacob Gallagher from certain peril. Late at night, Robert replayed the story in his mind. How John had braved floodwater and crumbling stone to haul Jacob to safety. The townsfolk hailed John as a hero, but Robert's confidence in his half-brother's selflessness falters. Was it an act of genuine bravery, or a calculated bid to earn gratitude and nobility's halo? He shared his doubts with Chuz, hoping for solidarity. But she brushed aside his unease. "You're just jealous, Robert. John's given everything to this valley. You should be proud." That accusation, flung like a challenge, drives Robert deeper into isolation. When Victoria visits with gentle counsel, encouraging him to confide in a counselor, to unburden himself of craving validation, he recoils. He is not the craftily polished brother, he cannot disguise his doubts beneath a veneer of charm. He will find the truths he needs on his own. His first attempt focuses on John's phone. When John forgets it momentarily in the barn, Robert pounces with elation, until frustration sets in. He cannot unlock the device. The passcode eludes him like a forbidden treasure. All he gains is the fleeting hope that he might unravel John's secrets, snatched away when John's quick glance reveals the theft. Within seconds, the phone is returned, and Robert is left staring at locked screens and missed opportunities. Yet Eric Pollard, Weatherfield's unofficial archivist, becomes a beacon of reluctant assistance. Over tea in the cafe, Eric reminisces about the night of the rescue, hinting at John's precise timing and the strategic way he rallied the local volunteer crew. "He's not the spontaneous hero you think," Eric warns Robert in a hushed tone. John made a deal with the Waterspring Estate trustees behind closed doors, guaranteed them favorable terms for his development plans in exchange for ditch-digging machinery at the rescue site. Robert feels vindicated, believing he's uncovered John's motive, a transactional act framed as heroism. But as he races to share the revelation with Chuz, he stumbles into a trap laid long before. John's newly planted microphone has captured every heated word Robert uttered about framing his brother. Already, John knows how to parry Robert's next move. Meanwhile, a far more explosive confrontation erupts at the Woolpack. Moira Barton, still reeling from the break-in at her farm, cuts a defiant figure as she storms into Joe Tate's pop-up gallery beside the village square. Joe had come offering concessions and half-measures. Moira viewed them as dismissal of her family's pride. In a fierce moment of righteous anger, she struck him, her fist connecting with his jaw, echoing off the display cases. The slap was heard around the room, and by nightfall the police have arrived to cuff Moira for common assault. Kane, her husband in spirit and blood, stands by her fiercely. Together they suspect Joe masterminded the warehouse incursion to extort her into signing over land. But as Lydia Dingle is hauled away in handcuffs, her own eyes wide in disbelief, Kane's rage finds a new focus. Lydia's betrayal, once unimaginable, now sears every family gathering with suspicion. Why would his own niece break into Moira's sanctum? Kane vows retribution, his vow sharpening in the chill of the station's corridor. Lydia will pay for dragging Moira to the cells. At the hospital, the tense drama of surrogacy unfolds. Mackenzie Boyd sits alone on a bench, swirling the water glass in his hands. Charity Tate, resolute and radiant, fights through her trepidation as she prepares for her first fertility appointment, this time as Sarah Sugden's chosen womb. Mac had insisted he wouldn't come, that his emotions ran too deep for such a process. Yet Aaron Dingle, ever the voice of reason, urges him to face his fears. "You're part of this," Aaron reminds Mac. "Charity needs you." Spurred by guilt and love, Mac races to the clinic moments before Charity's embryo transfer. She greets him with a gentle smile and news that the procedure went smoothly. In the hushed recovery room, staff congratulate them, and Charity's eyes mist with joy. But Mac's face remains a mask of sorrow. As everyone else celebrates a life yet to begin, he feels a surge of exclusion, his role defined by sacrifice rather than shared hope. Aaron stands by his side, prodding him to speak with Charity, but the two drift into distance, each unwilling to bridge the gulf of unspoken feelings. On the doorstep of tragic redemption, Dylan Kelly returns from rehab, shadows lingering beneath his eyes. News of his successful detox spreads quickly. He is greeted by Claire, Belle and Tracy in the cafe, their relief palpable. But beneath the cheer lurks the specter of Ray, Dylan's vindictive former enforcer, who looms on the fringes of the village. His arrival, unannounced, ominous, casts a pall over Dylan's newfound freedom. Meanwhile, Belle grapples with her responsibilities to April, whose apprenticeship at the salon was reinstated at Marlon's insistence. April, fierce in her convictions, had confronted Marlon. No one should be coerced into roles they resist. At last, Marlon relents, restoring equilibrium to the salon family. Yet when April visits Donna's grave that afternoon, she glimpses Dylan kneeling before the headstone, lips moving in silent apology. She reaches out to him, wonder and compassion mingling, only to share a moment of triumph at his progress, before Ray's shadow storms in, his presence a dire warning that Dylan's past is never far behind. Amid these swirling dramas at Wishing-Well Cottage, Nicola King marvels at Lewis's ingenuity. He has crafted a bespoke app for the cafe's ordering system, seamless, user-friendly, and poised to streamline service. Nicola's admiration is genuine, but Lewis's mind is elsewhere. He watches Steph and Ross from behind the counter, curiosity and hope warring in his chest. He senses the unspoken tension between them, that spark that once lit their shared laughter. When Steph confides in him that she still regrets how things ended with Ross, Lewis sets himself the mission of a Cupid armed with code, determined to orchestrate their reconciliation. He nudges Ross to stop lingering on past hurts, to fight for the possibility of them again. Whether Ross will heed his friend's counsel remains to be seen, but Lewis believes that sometimes, an app is only as powerful as the human connection it can help rebuild. As these stories unfurl, a single thread weaves through them all, the unrelenting pursuit of truth, justice and belonging. Robert inches closer to exposing John's calculated heroism, but at what cost, when John already knows Robert's hand? Moira faces the consequences of her defiance, her alliances tested by Lydia's betrayal. Mac's heart aches with the knowledge that on this new journey with Charity, he remains an outsider of his own joy. Dylan stands on the brink of a fresh start, only to feel the weight of Ray's lingering wrath. And in the cozy warmth of the cafe, Nicola and Lewis plot a revival of love that could heal or hurt them all. With every furtive glance, every whispered confession, and every clenched fist beneath the farmhouse table, Emmerdale's residents brace for the reckoning ahead. When the silt finally settles and the smoke clears, only the strongest bonds, rooted in honesty and loyalty, will withstand the trials unleashed between July 28th and August 1st. The morning sun slants through the old mullioned windows of Keeper's cottage as Robert Sugden stumbles down the creaky stairs, mind churning with the fragments of his latest discoveries. The kettle's whistle draws him back to earth, but his hands tremble as he pours tea. Each sip tastes of betrayal, a bitterness he cannot swallow. He knows John has anticipated Robert's every move, planting microphones, curating conversations, then retreating behind his polished smile. Today, Robert is determined to turn the tables. He slips on his coat and strides across the dew-wet lawn toward the Woolpack, where Eric Pollard has arranged to meet him once more. Eric sits in a corner booth, papers spread before him, property deeds, bank statements and messages extracted, no small feat, from John's unlocked laptop while it lay unattended. Robert's heart skips. Eric managed to bypass John's encryption, revealing clandestine payments from Tate Developments to an offshore shell company. Your half-brother didn't just rescue Jacob, Eric murmurs, voice low as the pub's morning hush. He orchestrated the rescue to trigger a conservation order on Waterspring Gorge, one that's legally binding. Then, once the order is in place, he can argue his development is the only way to fund restoration. Robert slams a fist on the table. He's weaponized his heroism. Eric nods. He's 10 steps ahead. But I've also dug up his emails with that forger in Leeds, the one who crafted those mock council notices you found. If we can expose both, you'll invalidate his land deals. Robert's eyes flash with resolve. Then we bring it all to Victoria. She'll help me present the case to the trust. Eric hesitates. Be careful. John's network extends far, counsellors, lawyers, even the local press. Robert sets his jaw. I'll take that risk. By midday, Moira Barton-Dingle is released on conditional bail. The air outside the station tastes of thunder, clouds roll in as though echoing her storm-tossed spirit. Kane hustles her into the Land Rover, concern etched into his features. She grips the door frame, face pale but fierce. I'm fine, she insists. But Lydia's alone, and I need to know why she turned on me. Kane's jaw tightens. We'll deal with Joe later. First, we sort out Lydia. They drive the winding road to the family barn, where Lydia sits on a bale of hay, staring at the ground. When Moira steps forward, her hesitation is almost maternal. Why, Lydia? She asks, voice trembling. Lydia's eyes fill with tears. I thought it was the only way to save us. She looks up, shame burning her cheeks. Joe threatened to pull funding from my new cafe. He said if you didn't sign away the land, he'd ruin me. Moira's chest tightens. He used you as bait. She kneels beside her niece, placing a hand on Lydia's arm. We'll fix this. I promise. Kane glances at Moira through the barn's gaping doors. In the churning sky, he sees the scales tipping, the Dingles, once fractured, now forging an unbreakable front. Lydia, he says, voice gentle but unyielding, you'll come home with us. We'll stand by you through whatever legal fallout comes next. Relief and fear tumble across Lydia's features. Thank you, she whispers. Meanwhile, at the fertility clinic, Mackenzie Boyd sits alone in the parking lot, phone in hand. He replays Charity's voicemail. The embryologist was pleased. Everything looks promising. His chest aches, a tight knot of longing and guilt. Aaron Dingle watches from the window, arms crossed in silent support. When Mac finally emerges, Aaron falls into step beside him on the clinic's tiled walkway. You did the right thing by coming, Aaron says. Mac's gaze drifts to the big glass doors. I know, he admits. I felt like an outsider. Aaron nods. You're not. What you feel, everything, Charity needs you by her side. Mac looks skyward. Then why does it hurt so much to watch her with everyone else cheering? Aaron hesitates, then places a hand on Mac's shoulder. Because love isn't always shared evenly, he says softly. But the strongest families find balance in imbalance. Mac turns, resolve hardening. I'm going back in. Together, they re-enter the clinic, Mac steps firmer, determination shining in his eyes. Across the village, Dylan Kelly works behind the bar of the Woolpack, steady hands pouring pints with practiced ease. The clink of glass and low hum of conversation should bring comfort, but the memory of Ray's looming silhouette at the back doorway sends a chill through him. When April Windsor slips in, her eyes bright with relief upon seeing him, his tension slackens for a moment. She sweeps behind the bar to help him serve tables, her presence a balm. They share a quiet triumph at Dylan's clean bill of health. April's smile, warm and proud, tells him he's not alone. But that evening, as closing time draws near, Ray arrives in the alley behind the pub. Dylan steps outside to lock the back door, and is greeted by distrustful eyes. Thought you could skip town, Kelly. Ray's voice is low, threatening. Dylan steps back, fear mingling with defiance. Stay away from me, Ray. Ray's lip curls. You owe me, remember? Before Dylan can reply, Ray's fist arcs in a blur. The blow catches Dylan off guard, and pain blossoms behind his cheek. He stumbles, and as he fights to steady himself, Ray's laughter echoes off the brick walls. Get a job that matters, junkie. Ray stalks away, leaving Dylan bleeding under the lamppost's harsh glow. Inside, April sees Dylan's shaken expression and rushes out. At her touch, he collapses against her, and she guides him gently into the pub's warmth. In the cozy clutter of Wishing Well Cottage, Nicola King and Lewis Turner sit at the kitchen table, discussing the cafe's new app rollout. Their faces are illuminated by a laptop screen displaying user analytics, how many orders have been placed, the average time saved. Nicola beams at Lewis. It's brilliant. You've really outdone yourself. Lewis shrugs, excitement dimmed by the tension he's sensing between Steph and Ross. He switches the laptop aside. Actually, I need your advice. Nicola arches an eyebrow. On what? Lewis explains. He's picked up on Steph's lingering glances at Ross, and Ross's nervous fumbling whenever she's near. I think they still have feelings, he says, voice earnest. But neither dares to reach out first. Nicola smiles softly. Sometimes people need a push. She stands and fetches 2 mugs of tea. Returning, she sets one before Lewis. You're good with technology. Maybe now be good with words. Encourage Ross to take a chance. Lewis stirs sugar, resolve firming. I will. That evening at Emmerdale Haulage, Ross meets Zach at the yard gate. Zach holds a crate of tools, but his attention flicks to Ross with knowing amusement. You been talking to the cafe crew? Ross flushes. No. Why? Zach grins. Let's just say I saw your face when Steph walked by. Ross rubs the back of his neck. I'm thinking of reaching out. But I don't know how. Zach elbows him lightly. Be honest. She'll appreciate that more than any grand gesture. Ross nods, heart pounding. You're right. Thanks, mate. That night, as the last passengers depart from the Woolpack, Ross finds Steph by the hearth, cradling a steaming cup of cocoa. The crackle of the fire fills the silence. Ross clears his throat. Steph. She looks up, startled. His palms sweat against the mug. I I've been a fool, he begins. I let fear get in the way. But I still care about you. Steph's eyes glisten. Ross. Their words drift as Ross steps closer, and under the lamplight's glow, they share a tentative smile, two hearts testing the waters of second chances. Meanwhile, Robert Sugden returns to home farm, files in hand, determined to confront John. He strides into the library where John is reviewing blueprints of his latest development on the grand desk. I have what I need, Robert announces, spreading the documents before him. John looks up, arch expression unshaken. You think these prove anything? He asks lightly. Robert meets his gaze. I know they do. You rigged the Jacobs rescue to manipulate the conservation order. You've hidden payments behind shell companies. And you planted devices in my home to spy on me. John's smile is cold comfort. If you have proof, take it to the trust. See how long your inheritance lasts after that. Robert's pulse surges. I will. He turns on his heel and walks out, leaving John to stare after him with a calculating glint. Late that night, as thunder drums against the rooftops, Moira convenes a family meeting in the barn loft. Candles flicker around the wooden beams. Lydia, Kane, Kyle and even Robert, drawn by the gravity of the fight against John, gather around. Moira lays out the plan: clear Lydia's name, protect home farm, and expose John's schemes publicly. They divide tasks. Kyle and Lydia will testify to Joe's coercion at Lydia's hearing. Sam, recently returned to the fold, will coordinate with Eric to leak the offshore account evidence. Moira and Kane will spearhead a community petition to revoke John's development permits. When each voice is heard, the sense of unity banishes the night's fears. Outside, thunder cracks open the sky, and rain begins to pelt the corrugated roof. But inside the barn, a spark of hope kindles. The Dale's defenders, once scattered by deceit, now stand shoulder to shoulder. Their combined resolve promises that when dawn breaks on August 1st, they will unveil a reckoning neither John Sugden nor Joe Tate can withstand. And in that moment, as the storm's fury abates, Emmerdale itself will bear witness to the power of truth, loyalty, and love triumphing over greed and betrayal.